Does religion help or hinder the process of enlightenment? It kind of seems like both. One of the last things I struggled with was letting go of my concept of morality. Your ego is made up of judgment and morality. And as a father of a 2-year-old, I'm very aware of this. When I tell him, no, don't touch that, that is in fact a moral wiring of the mind. And we all are taught not to touch the fire. And so we all develop an ego, fire, bad. And there's a shadow to fire, bad. And so we start to schism and we start to obscure our light. And as parents, we have a great influence over the development of this ego and sense of morality. And it's important to take responsibility and realize that things like don't touch the fire and what is a mess? Oh, a mess was made, or is something messy? Is the stray cat bad? Is the meowing of the stray cats bad? And so, when you have a strong moral code that you strongly identify with, such as religions create an identity and a code of conduct and a code of thought. Some religions also provide practical, I would probably say all religions, but some in more detail, practical information about the path to enlightenment and afterwards, and other subjects more profound that have nothing to do with it. But the very identification, the internalization of a moral code and a label, I am Christian, I accept Jesus as my only Lord and Savior, I follow the 10 Commandments, I am Hindu, I pray to Ganesh on these days, and these things create a lot of resistance. And the very idea to a person that believes in a strict moral code, the very idea of letting go of your morals is more than scary, it's repulsive. You think, am I going to become like an animal? But that is what is necessary. That is the deep core of your ego. Don't touch the fire, fire bad. Things like that. And religion seems to create a very strong ego, a very strong identity, very strong morals. And it seems to me kind of like putting the cart before the horse, I think is the phrase. The path to Christ consciousness and actually loving your neighbor and loving all the stray cats and so on is through dissolving your moral code. We all develop one, we all develop morals, fire bad, mess bad. As parents, it's inevitable that we impart this on our children. They must exist in the physical world. They must learn rules of interacting with things like fire. But when they come of age, they can deconstruct this moral code and disidentify with it. And that is the path to self-realization and awakening or enlightenment. And so for Hindus, for instance, which describe enlightenment so clearly in so much detail, such a detailed path, what a challenge to now disidentify. To achieve the goal described in your religion, you must disidentify with your religion. And to fulfill its teachings, you must disidentify with its teachings. But then you will live its teachings. I think this is why Buddhism and Taoism developed sort of irreligiously, agnostically, because that is actually a more accurate, more effective path, a lesser identification. Buddhists and Taoists don't have so much pride or exclusion and judgment of other paths. And that makes it easier to ultimately let go of the identity and the moral code. Indeed, the morals they teach are much more about the path. And I think to the extent that their followers get confused about it, for instance, I'm almost carnivore, but I would say like vegans, for instance, like pre-enlightenment, judging of people for eating animals, or if you were to judge yourself for eating an animal, that is a strong ego structure that is resisting enlightenment. On the other hand, I can see an enlightened person choosing to be vegan because they empathize so much with the animals. So you see, the practice, the strictness of the religion may actually prevent you from achieving the goal of the religion. Versus myself, I studied many things and used them for inner exploration, but I never strongly identified with anything. I would say publicly, for instance, that I'm a Christian, but I never regularly attended church, and I didn't identify with it to the judgment of other things. And it was relatively easy for me to let go. I will still tell people I'm a Christian, or maybe even something like I'm a Buddhist or a Taoist, and I don't see these as mutually exclusive at all. I'm exploring Hinduism. Maybe one day I could call myself a Hindu. But these things all are just refractions of the truth. Little pieces shining through from higher consciousness, distorted by words and time, and the perception of the reader or listener. So, religions show us the way, and what the result is, but they don't show us, they don't they can hold us back at a certain point. And we must, in fact, overcome them. We must ultimately disidentify